Purposely. Your life, God's purpose. Listen at purposely.com.
Are you a party person? What starts a party for you? What ends a party for you? I'm Jen. This is the Bible for Busy People, and I am a more socially anxious person. So what I love is going to do the behind-the-scenes work. I like to get there early, help set up, maybe refill some trays along the way or get everybody drinks. It kind of warms me up to the setting. It gets me ready to be social. And I would say that the party probably ends when the food stops. Would you agree? I want to give a shout out to my dear friend Kim, who is an excellent hostess, and she knows how important food is in the game. She always keeps a cake mix in the pantry. She keeps extra cans of soda in the fridge, and I'm pretty sure she could whip up a party in about half an hour if necessary. Her two kids in particular are super social and would absolutely love that. So in Jesus's time and culture, wine was crucial to the party. It would more than shut down the party to run out. It meant poor hospitality and social humiliation. It would look like the group of people that did the party didn't plan well enough for the party or didn't care enough for their guests. We're going to read about that today in John chapter 2. It says, on the third day, a wedding took place at Cana in Galilee. Jesus' mother was there, and Jesus and his disciples had also been invited to the wedding. When the wine was gone, Jesus' mother said to him, "They have no more wine." "Woman, why do you involve me?" Jesus replied, "My hour has not yet come." His mother said to the servants, "Do whatever he tells you." Nearby stood 6 stone water jars, the kind used by the Jews for ceremonial washing, each holding from 20 to 30 gallons. Jesus said to the servants, "Fill the jars with water." So they filled them to the brim. Then he told them, "Now draw some out and take it to the master of the banquet." They did so, and the master of the banquet tasted the water that had been turned into wine. He did not realize where it had come from, though the servants who had drawn the water knew. Then he called the bridegroom aside and said, "Everyone brings out the choice wine first, and then the cheaper wine after the guests have had too much to drink. But you have saved the best till now." What Jesus did here in Cana of Galilee was the first of the signs through which he revealed his glory, and his disciples believed in him. After this, he went down to Capernaum with his mother and brothers and his disciples. There they stayed for a few days. Now, I'll admit it does sting a little bit to hear Jesus seem to approach his mother so casually, maybe even flippantly. However, in my research, commentaries like the one by Gilberto A. Reese on Working Preacher point out that Jesus referred to other women in the scriptures as woman without disrespect. So culturally, it probably would have sounded different than it sounds to us today. Also, as Chelsea Harmon points out in her commentary on the Center for Excellence in Preaching, George Beasley Murray draws on a Syrian idiom that sounds a lot like what Jesus says to his mom here, and points out that it could mean something like, "You and I understand what's happening here. You don't need to tell me." I imagine Jesus meeting his mother with a bit of humor rather than disdain. Reese's commentary also takes note of the fact that there are 6 jars as opposed to 7, which is the number of completion in the scriptures, and the fact that these were purification jars. They were made of stone because that was thought to keep impurities out. What I appreciate about Harmon's commentary is that she pays attention to the flow of the Bible leading up to this story. Just before this moment with the wedding, Jesus called his first disciples to follow him, and they did. But in this story, they actually start to believe in Jesus, and I'm inferring as more than just a teacher or a leader. She speaks to the symbolism of this story, where she talks about how Jesus used purification jars. Harmon says the very large jars that Jesus uses in the miracle were ones used by attendees to wash and cleanse their hands according to purification practices. In other words, religious rules or practices. In using them, Jesus turns a tool for meeting an obligation under purity law into a gift of blessing and celebration. There is symbolism here in Jesus turning water that was for regular religious use into wine, which has also been symbolic of blood. This is a symbol of grace, the work of religion replaced by the grace of Jesus. In this, there is celebration. We're skipping ahead to Hebrews chapter 10. In verse 1, it says, "The law is only a shadow of the good things that are coming, not the realities themselves. For this reason, it can never never, by the same sacrifices repeated endlessly year after year, make perfect those who draw near to worship. Otherwise, would they not have stopped being offered? For the worshippers would have been cleansed once for all and would no longer have felt guilty for their sins. But those sacrifices are an annual reminder of sins. It is impossible for the blood of bulls and goats to take away sins. Therefore, when Christ came into the world, he said, "Sacrifice and offering you did not desire, but a body you prepared for me. With burnt offerings and sin offerings you were not pleased." Then I said, "Here I am. It is written about me in the scroll. I have come to do your will, my God." First, he said, "Sacrifices and offerings, burnt offerings and sin offerings you did not desire, nor were you pleased with them, though they were offered in accordance with the law." Then he said, "Here I am. I have come to do your will." He sets aside the first to establish the second, and by that will we have been made holy through the sacrifice of the body of Jesus Christ once for all. As Harmon says, Jesus provides an abundance of provision and blessing where there once was law and obligation. He transforms an old way with a new wineskin. The abundance of God and God's grace is clear in this story. Rachel Held Evans also took a meaningful perspective of this miracle in her book, Searching for Sunday. She said, "It may be tempting to dismiss the miracle at Cana as a mere magic trick, an example of Jesus flexing his messianic muscles before getting to the real work of restoring sight to the blind and helping the paralyzed off their mats. But this is only because we have such a hard time believing that God cares about our routine realities, that God's glory resides in the stuff of everyday life, just waiting to be seen. Jesus cares about what we care about. No need or request is too small for him to consider and to care for." Just a little miracle story, seemingly not life-altering, definitely not made to be a big deal at the moment, but it tells a powerful story about how Jesus meets our needs in so many ways, that God cares and celebrates and feels with us. Here's something else that's interesting. This story is immediately followed by Jesus driving salespeople from the temple. God hates when anyone tries to get between us and him. He will knock down every wall. So what do these stories say to you? I'll leave you to think about that, and we'll chat again tomorrow.
Thank you for listening to The Bible for Busy People. If you need prayer or want to go deeper in your faith, visit our show notes. Will you take a moment to share with a friend and leave a review? It helps the Bible get into even more people's minds and hearts. Find more podcasts that will recharge you at purposely.com.